hosting, hi Rhiannon, a chocolate tea and type social tonight. So it'll be around the midnight hour, 11 to 1. And I just have some nice fair trade assorted flavors of chocolate, some tea, I have a green, herbal, etc. If you want to bring your writing, you can bring the writing to my suite, which is only for tonight. So I have this up here, and if anyone wants the info, it's in suite 5230. So through the party wing, around the corner, and it's the first one on the right. Yeah.
What time is it?
Here you go. It's from 11 to 1. Yeah. Pass it around, take a picture. That's my last one for now. Minutes till we start. Any special news coming in through the door at this moment? There were a few reroutes through the Seattle public transit system, which was, kind of like a magical experience getting here, but it was, it could be figured out.
I ended up an hour ahead of schedule somehow, even though my flight was late.
Sometimes the way becomes clear.
Riley. Oh, yeah, I see. Pardon? You were registered, I think. I was.
I think it's really the public transit system is evolving, and I'm really happy for all the neighborhoods who are, getting the public transit they want and deserve. Hopefully all within the right ways of treating people in different neighborhoods.
I wish the light rail system had been in place back when I was going to the U, because my parents lived about 3 blocks away from the Angle Lake station, and the UW station is probably a quarter-mile away from the dorm, so it would have been so much easier to get home, so I could wash my clothes in my parents' laundry rather than in the dorm.
So here we go. It looks like we're nearing the start time here. We're on the minute. Good. So my name's Eva L. Elasigue, and I've written this trilogy, which is a fantasy space opera, intergalactic mythic fantasy space opera, titled Bones of Starlight. All 3 books are now collected in one beautiful volume that's new this year. This is the omnibus. So I'm already past the first set of corrections in the text, and the second printing is available in the Bardwood Book Nook here at Norwescon. So it's nice to be stocked here in the dealer's room at a table other than my own. Patrick has always done a good job with Fairwood Press, but Bardwood is stocking my book for now.
Yay.
So for Norwescon, let's see, I picked a part of the story that talks about the culmination of achievement. And there's been a crew, sort of a Manhattan project of scientists at an underwater research facility that's been pushing the forefront of sort of interdimensional physics, and it's all happening now, and they collectively sort of reach their plateau, and then we get to see what happens. And I'm incorporating different parts of the story that kind of tie it all together now that everything's finished. This is coming out of the third book, Greater Beyond. 186. They all stood in the hallway corner, talking excitedly. Representatives of every research discipline currently involved at the Arch, a place with the subaquatic capacity of half an alpha orbit station and the curiosity of an interstellar species or two. Researchers threaded through the social knot they formed, turning back and forth between each other, talking. Some were leaning back on the wall with deep sighs and wide eyes, or clutching their heads and laughing. There were serious hushes, hands in front of mouths. The Hoopoe was there. Buckminster and Arjun Woolliby were there. Aries Steinman was there. Marion Waters was there. Anyone who wasn't there didn't hold a leading research position, but they most certainly did hear the building-wide broadcast of the classic tune, Major Breakthrough by Silk and Tongue. In the past 48 hours, during which some had not slept, they'd been able to interpret the data they were receiving. Then, they translated it to human range audio and listened to it. Then they confirmed its origins, and now everyone here needed to know. Leading up to this, they translated layers of patterns from the readings, which had been gaining in depth and texture of reception through their advancements. Their compartmentalized projects seemed to have co-evolved into sudden cooperation. ME and TH discerned and sorted timing signatures. EG and MW discovered and quantified tonalities. AL monitored and analyzed conditional factors. PM measured recurrence and reverberative derivatives. PR recorded particle arrangements as wave shapes. MC made amplitude comparisons. RH worked on recognizing nesting, while RS and AS interpreted shapes. PA identified conjoining characters. RS calculated radiance and decay. KU wrote data interlocking equations. RL sussed out source coordination. BW and AM kept up and kept ahead with instrument reception tuning. JM spearheaded creation of gap algorithms. Out of every 1 to 6 person team, some of them were here. Someone produced a camera and got them all to look at it. Incredulous faces filling a hallway, 5 and more people deep. They were all discussing the audio track they'd been listening to, which was not the song called Major Breakthrough. The implications of its evidence broke the rules of this world open to reveal another, real yet other. They'd suspected enough to get that far, but this told them so much more in a stunning fashion. What did they believe should be done about it? Pointing to the papers in his hand, Aries Steinman turned to the Hoopoe, asking, "Can we make a composition like this?" "I'm going to say yes," replied the lad, "but it will only be like it in certain ways, with our specific dimensional fingerprint, the way it contains its dimensional fingerprint. But I think I can make it fit, like 2 halves of a locket. And please don't ask for more explanation at this point. I'm pretty sure what I need is a specialty 6/15 live selector matrix cube." Steinman received multiple key points from this reply, one after the other, for the first time. Guessing from your context, that sounds like an item for a music production. Yeah, I'd want to order it custom, which I wouldn't consider cheap and will take a little more time than instant acquisition, like the charged filter. And I need the premium software, and I'm going to mod it, which will void support and might mean legal fees. You can tell I've already thought about this. If it's mass market, then it costs no more than our toilet paper, even at custom rates. I second your request. We'll have it sooner than anyone else can get it, and you can order the gold trim. We might even get them to work for us. I think all we need to do is order one. We have to wait for a surfacing until we can send for it, right? We'll be coming up really soon. Priority. And so the Hoopo works on this part of the research. They actually got a famous DJ, they shanghaied a famous DJ into joining their sonics department at the Arch, and that's what he's doing there. He's an extremely successful teenager DJ who had a few things to work off for society's sake and decided to go this route. So now the experiment is rolling forward, and I'm speaking it in dragon verse through the perspective of Arcuda, who is the dragon counselor who's AWOL, hiding out at the Arch, hiding from everybody who knows him and might expect him to do something for the government like he's been doing up until the point of his injury, their injury. The dragons have pronouns which indicate their sort of gender fluidity. So dragons embody a cosmic concept, an elemental concept that includes both feminine and masculine interpretations of all aspects of the cosmic concept that they embody. So they ask that their pronouns be designated fluid. They're kind of, it's E and at the same time. 255. Every system is poised in arrested interlocking patterns, these many focused brilliant minds arrayed in strata, medium within medium, facing an equal complexity. This became my refuge, and then my seeming multi-layered purpose. These are not my calculations, though I may have furthered them. These are not my machines, though I may have nurtured them. This is neither my challenge nor my victory, but this may change me. As a dragon, I accept change. The changes of the universe are mine as well. Well as the mode of sunlight in the deepest, darkest abyss, more obscuringly dense than the vast vacuum, I wonder what I am here to illuminate. The respectfully somber, yet audaciously brave, flourishes to begin, and something starts to happen that never happened before, in the same way that nothing has ever happened before, yet in such a way as to make that clearer than at other moments. Clarity of our attention magnifying as pulses move through electricity, furthering attached responses, setting in motion their multivarious channels. My awareness extends far, but only so far, not all being within my realm. I feel thrills in the anticipation held within the unknown as the processes make their leaps. What we're hearing has never been projected in such a fashion, and I, for one, feel it corporeally. Perhaps they must, in their own structures. This is going to have to affect something. This doesn't feel like something that does nothing. My visual perception of water is probably the finest in present direct experience. and this is stunningly unique. If the aim was to produce beauty, then they have done it. I have heard them say that the truest means are often the most beautiful. And if so, then from what I see, they may be achieving their exact aim. They, with their own ways of perceiving, appear as thrilled as I. Probably more so in the human way, because this is their endeavor. While I, in my dragon way, recognize this as a turning point, the kind which we too note and remember within ourselves. From somehow within the sounds reaching and contacting the water, there appear bright colors and dimensions, distances all around us, as though we are inside something that is someplace else. But this someplace is no place of ours, so totally like and unquestionably other, fully realized, no sketch but a complete other place. This could be a sky, this could be a land, shocking to the core. Though there is a form of grounding reassurance in our solidly continued existence. We are fine. Our wavelengths are meeting other wavelengths, and the completed soundscape is an unbelievable glory, a definition of transcendence, something nobody even knew they were going to achieve. It shows on every face. And it's transitory. We reach the end of our transmission, and we're back to the place where we yet remain, the same place we began. Things achieve neutral state as we power down. Did we do it? Is this what this was supposed to do? There's someone in here that wasn't here before. A small floating being who matches the skyscape colors that just surrounded us. She is clapping and beaming radiantly. Sublime. That was sublime, said Rosy Glow. I was drawn. You're going to need something. I'll try and see what it is by the time you need it. So it's the snow globe moment where they saw another reality as though they were inside a snow globe. And that's sort of all that happened. And they kind of snapped back and wonder what to do. Rosy Glow then happens to meet the other, another dragon who's part of the equation, and kind of says, you know what? There's something going on over there, and I really think this is kind of your thing. And the dragon's response is essentially, yeah, no, I know about something going on over there, and I do want to go. So she sort of gets, and Rosy Glow is a chaos she who they sort of are self-definingly gendered, and Rosy Glow is a she. And so she kind of gets this dragon involved and over there, and despite the political conflicts of getting involved with this sort of unaffiliated dragon, they've decided that they will try to bring them in, and this is how they're going to do it. The princess has joined the arch and has met this dragon and is going to sort of enact the summoning invitation. 268. This is a strange way to mobilize, mused Arjun Wooliby to the key group seated at the peak while reviewing the process list. Mobilizing to immobilize. Getting everyone not to do anything is almost harder than getting everyone to do something. We even have to set things up so that no one has to do anything for even a short span of time. It's not quite like any of our practiced emergency drills, but we're at least that prepared. He turned to the princess nearby. Are you ready to give the instruction and the signal, Your Grace? Throughout the building, everyone is in group and in place. Preparing to direct a building full of people to a mind state, Soleil was part way to that mind state already, eyes half hooded. She decided there would be something right about wearing her dragon gift visibly for this. Her lips, where she'd laid a kiss of compassion on the tooth of the dragon who killed her mother, showed blackest black. She didn't explain that to everyone, because it was still difficult to explain to herself, except that it felt like one of the most human things she'd ever done. Sure, she said, reserved and concentrating. She brushed her hands down the light fabric of Marion Waters' mental escape sundress, something she'd been offered to change into while giving her Vidani control suit a break. It's probably more evocation than instruction, but yes, I'm ready. First, we're going to emergency dim. Then, you're on the system speakers. The lights turned a pale shade, somewhere between blue and red. Eyes closed stillness was the request, whichever way a person knew best how to keep it and focus awareness at the same time. Everything turned deeply quiet when the energy dropped. They were situated in their emergency point huddles, plunged into the underwater gloaming. She'd prepared herself to let it out. Honesty, clarity, straightforward and direct, into and from the heart, to that place. A smile in the stillness of this moment, Soleil activated her voice receiver and began. This is my own account. You can follow it like a story. Let it direct you to a place, like the place where I was face to face with this dragon, who was there in this place, which may not be a place at all. I was going and going, where stopping might mean death, might mean being forever lost. It seemed like I was going forever, but I couldn't keep going forever. Nothing goes forever, except maybe infinity itself. Not me. And I knew that. I knew it was coming. I kept getting closer and closer to it. I felt an imminence, nearness, that I was almost ready to embrace, though never quite until it overcame me. And there was a nothingness between everything, connecting and disconnecting everything. There was a moment where nothing happened. It was a place, and in this place, time stood still, and possibilities appeared as direction ceased. If the conservation of energy means that all things continue, this pause, this passage, from one moment to the next, from one thing to the next, may be the only real stop. The ending that isn't an ending. The ending that is a continuation through ceasing. That nothingness is something, an emptiness that holds everything, a passage that bridges and terminates, something you might never notice, but it knows itself. He looked at me, and I saw her. I learned the name of Akamar. I learned what he did directly from her, and I found something unexpected within myself that is itself important about humanity. And that is when I was returned to humanity. It was the moment of deliverance from my plight. Maybe this is a place of finding, or a place of knowing, or not a place at all. And none of these things, and almost anything. Spend some time in that place, breathing and between breaths, before you open your eyes, when you're ready. Soleil opened her own eyes first after this. When she looked around, what she saw startled her into shushing herself with a hand to her mouth. Even when expectant, she was not entirely ready. Wearing the scaled humanoid form that she'd seen reflected in the giant tooth she had kissed, the color of surreal midnight, Akamar was sitting there with them, eyes closed. He opened one eye to meet Soleil's gaze, and then the other, remaining still and silent as the rest slowly returned to awareness. Okay, well, there are 10 minutes left in this section, but I could take you all the way to the further, like anybody who wants to get to someplace else can, this might be the time to head out. Yeah, see you. Thanks for joining us. But I can also sort of add this section in. Does anybody quite feel like sitting through to the next reader? You're good? Okay. Yeah, well, I can just keep going until the next reader shows up. So.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you. And yeah, this book is available at Bargain for the tome fair price of $72. It's 3 hardcover books minus the cost of 1 hardcover book, so pretty good deal. $276. Everything go in the abyssal experiment zone, where the experts had been living for span upon span. With the new elements swimming in place, maybe only for this one time, they didn't know how they could possibly give anything more to the culmination of their group effort. When it began again, the whole arch could hear it. The Hoopo's ultimate track. With regards to this experiment, he would murmur, they'd gotten the best musical talent for this party. It was agreed. This time, the track sounded different. The difference was the new dragon. Akamar was there, out in the abyss just past where anyone could see. The sound transformed the way the sound does when it bounces off an object. But this object didn't make sense three-dimensionally. I feel like standing. The listening crew experienced something like an echolocation, though instead of returning a distorted sound wave, the sound was completed into something greater than the sound they were producing. It was similar to a musical sense of completion, the home note in a composition where every note hit home. The elements of completion were otherworldly, yet because of the way their portion of the sound was grounded in their own reality, the in-between qualities still belonged. It was like their own entire dimension was balanced on one side of a seesaw, and this sound was the plank displaying the balance. But likely, they were realizing further, not the only balance touching this existence. Somewhere in there was the voice of Akamar, but it was between everything that they could hear, while being distinctly there. Akamar was doing something with this wave, or this wave was doing something to Akamar, as though he knew what it meant, what it was, and what to do. Dragons do recognize their element in all novel occurrences. Time as a dimension seemed to suspend. It was strangely comfortable, the way people are comfortable in the moment before everything that might happen next. They cherished and savored the world they knew before eagerly facing the one they didn't yet, the world to come in the following moments, approaching as every future approaches. There was, at some point, another voice in there with the first voice. Both voices were there between the things they could hear, sense, and record, like unheard footfalls. Instrument readings were consistent, yet came in differently. It was the metaphenomena, the differentials in timing, things that weren't being measured about the things that were being measured. This was yet noted by some, with the keenness of peak moment attention. The sound of the song was an object being carried along the same trajectory by two dancers instead of one. The matching of the two parts of sound became more seamless, more indistinguishable. They began to see something out there, similar to the sunset they saw on their first full run. Was it a different sunset? Here, it was a different day. Was that a different place? Here, they were in the same place. Between themselves and this other present place was a shadow, a mesh of two shadows that were the same but different, looking alike but moving differently. They could barely be discerned between two halves of otherwise light-filled worlds. That's where the action was happening, barely outside of sense or comprehension, on the very edge of awareness. Why did they read the sound connected to this moment and produce a sound to create this moment? Why were these two dragons necessary? Two dragons. Arcturi wasn't there to lend her perspective. He was only helping facilitate transit to safe surface. Arcuda, of light-filled nature, was calmly held in the awe of developing comprehension. The second dragon was the same dragon, like the other half of the song was the same song. The Arch had been working on this research since before Akamar had emerged. Arcuda recognized the way of dragon conception, the development of an element of truth in existence from other elements of truth, somewhere outside of and throughout time. Once it was real, it had always been real, even if one day it might not be real in the same way. This moment was inextricable from itself. That other dragon, which was the same dragon, was in another place, which in some way might be the same place. In these two places, two parts of the same song were being played. Oh, okay. Well, I see that I'm at 8:30, but I don't know if I'm the last reading, so.
I think there's one more. I think there's one more.
Okay. I'll just, I have maybe 5-ish minutes in this section, and I can read until somebody shows up. Yeah. This clock might be a little bit behind, but it's showing me 8:30, so. Many of the humans aboard looked through the shadows to what was beyond, each recording for their own profession to the best of their ability. Across an impossible distance of clarity, there were people, so like them. There were strange structures. It was hard to focus, but easy to feel. There were the two Keoshi with them at the peak. They had accompanied the elemental they guided to this invitation, and were occupying some upper wall space with a lot of apparent activation. Rosy glow was raptly reflecting the extra-dimensional palette before her petal eyes. Dragon food was looking especially well put together, zesty and sparkling with flair, glistening with sauciness and hot from the fire as he took in the dance of two dragons up ahead. He couldn't resist his own irresistible nature, and he began to float forward. Buck's Woollybee's head turned as dragon food drew level with where he was standing on the bridge. He reached out to try to catch what might be a foot or a trailing wisp of aroma, but the she was at this moment incorporeal. Dragon food continued onward, his look turning more determined and courageous. Bucks waggled a pointing finger after him as the Keoshi approached the view pane. Arjun noticed and understood. Walking calmly over, he reached out a hand that passed right through Dragon Food's currently diminutive form, which continued forward with stubbornly singular focus. Arjun looked at Soleil. Soleil looked at Rosy Glow, who was enraptured both by the otherworldly sunset and by her love flying into it. "Can you do anything about that?" Soleil asked her road friend. "What is he doing?" "I don't know," murmured Rosy Glow, "and probably not. We, our kind, have to be what we are, or we wouldn't exist. I believe right now he's going to be what he most truly is. I love him for exactly that. I don't think I could stop him if I tried, and I've never tried. But is he going to be okay? Are we going to be okay? How could I be the one to answer that?" She looked back toward dragon food and the sunset, swooning helplessly. "Can you blind him? Confuse him? Me? No. Though he might argue differently. And trying might ruin this first. Isn't there more time left in the song?" At this moment, dragon food passed through the viewing pane and out into the aqueous area inside the permeable torrential slip field. With one hand out toward what just happened, Arjun demanded of Rosy Glow, "Where are your limits? What are your limits? Could he always do that?" "Always? No, I can't imagine so. He's doing it now." "Doing what?" asked Arjun. "His thing." Her hypnotized expression turned into an anticipatory grin. Arjun's thoughts raced. They've been working on this for academic ages. This wouldn't exactly be happening right now without these two, or this one apparently determining his own role. This was now occurring on its own. They couldn't have guessed or tried for this, and this has to be it. We're already getting more than we ever have, and giving more than we ever have. We now have to pay attention, save everything we can of this moment. He looked around the room, checking the reactions of the research crew. Instrument reading techs in all their fields appeared to understand the gravity of these observations, doubling down on their focus, accuracy, and detail. No one had any idea what to expect when they started out, and not in the next phase, or this next. They knew how to handle not knowing. They were here for real science. When dragon food goes full tilt toward his inevitable doom, he begins to see reality differently, a little more the way the intended consumptor sees it, so as to become knowingly distinct in order to really shine. Since dragon food is intended for dragons, that's incredibly different every time. He'll see things more like the way of the dragon that he wants to eat him. But this other thing also happens where the forces of nature at work between the two of them become symbolized in his awareness, so that he understands how to use them in order to ideally entice this dragon. That part is also never the same. It thrills him to the core of his existence, not actually knowing what's going to happen and wanting it to happen. He's always been exhaled eventually, after a unique and bizarre micro-eternity, discovering that he is himself again outside the dragon. He's always known, though, that any time might be his last. Still, it was everything. There was music all around. The music was important. He could tell because he was able to see it now, here in the water space. He knew it hadn't been visible before, so this was one of those things. The music was traveling towards a strange attractor in smooth spirals. That strange attractor was occurring around the two dragons. The one Akamar, which he, as dragon food, could see perfectly well now, and the Enigma twin. The musical vibrations looked tangible enough to Dragon Food's current embodiment. He grabbed on, and the music took him through the edge of the torrential slip field, streaming through a microhole and out into the unsheltered, unending ocean. The music and the dragons were forming along a dimensional membrane that Dragon Food could see between depths of worlds on either side. Were they eating the music, becoming the music, speaking the music? Were the dragons the part of the music that connected the sound from one world to another? They were the same, but they were not the same. Dragon Food rode a wave of sound on its sudden slide toward the central maelstrom. The sound began to transform a little, a response to the nearness of its other part. The rider transformed with it, taking on the music's new morphing differentials. Sliding between the waveforms, he became the scintillation in the visualizations, whatever that really meant in the equation of form meeting form. The balancing waveforms met in the fractally opposing space between the two dragons, if not the technical spatial dimension as usually known. Dragon Food was somewhere inside the concept that was being enacted, like a bowl in the wood. He was looking for the eye, the eye. He had to catch the eye of the dragon in another dimension. He had to be seen. He rode the music to its howling center and jumped off into the eye of the storm, where he formed an apparition of his best contextual self, pure expression of all constituting this momentary environment. It was balance. It was introduction. It was newness and selfhood, comprehension and execution, boldness of knowledge, the right ingredients in the right amounts. His self existed, altered and more so, in a space part of other spaces, connecting to other versions of selves in other dimensions, such as time. Both dragons became aware of him. I am Akrolnar. You are Akamar. We have sameness. With this declarative thought expression of identity, Akrolnar's face emerged in more detail. Without much ado, he ingested the morsel of dragon food in the music that belonged as much to her dimension as it did to her twins. There was a form of gulp, as full realization developed momentarily of the delicious and unexpected nature of this happening. Akamar also blinked, fractally. It was good to be us, my sameness. Now me to mine, and you to yours. The great sound wound toward its completion. Agreed. We really are always us, whatever and wherever we are. I am glad to know us better. Until you. Everything separated as the music disappeared. And that's what I collected for this reading, but so we're a good solid 15 minutes into the next part.
Next meeting's an AA meeting.
In here?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I am unaffiliated with such, but, cheers to people wanting to live their best lives. So, this is me, Eva. I have panels coming up. I also have this room party. Did that pass around the flyer?
Yeah.
Okay, you've got it?
Yeah.
Thanks, yeah, I'd like to hang on to one for sure. So yeah, the room party's a little bit later, 11 to 1. I'm gonna maybe make a stop by the Pro Social. And yeah, I've got Friday panels, Weaving Words, The Epic Journey, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Supernatural, which is cool. It's fun to be on 2 fan panels. Inventing Popular Culture for Fiction, and The Drum Circle. So I've got a good program. Thanks for any questions? Anything? inquiries?
I'm not sure I'll make the social at 11. 'Cause I only got a half hour sleep last night. I was going to go back to the roadway at 9, but I'll see if I can stay awake and get a little, at least the beginning of that.
Sometimes it takes everything we've got just to be here, and it's totally worth it, right?
Yeah.